Jairus was a worship arranger and building maintenance coordinator at the synagogue, a deacon trustee, if you will. His 12-year-old daughter, on the brink of womanhood, was dying, walking the world's weird wall, clinging like a fragile moth on that thin curtain of mortality, swinging slowly out over the abyss. Jairus knew that death brought corruption of the body. To touch a dead body brought even the holiest of men to the brink of death themselves. But he had heard about a man who walked that weird wall without fear. He found him and lay down in his path like a cloak over a mud puddle, stopping him in his tracks. Meanwhile, there was a woman who had been bleeding for as many years as Jairus' daughter had been alive. Blood, that life-giving river that runs through us, had been running out of her, frightening the world with its relentless redness and its inexorable pull toward death. Unclean, she'd been excluded from touching, talking, engaging with anyone other than herself. She had been forced to huddle up against the world's wall for half her life. But she had heard about a magician with cauterizing powers, a wizard, shadow shooter, earth-rimmed roamer, walk of the world's weird wall. The woman, her face unknown by forgotten neighbors, unfolded herself and pressed through the human wall between her Savior and herself, defiling anyone who bumped against her, dropping to her knees and then her stomach, reaching across the abyss between her world and everyone else's, her fingertips, brushing the hem of his robe as he suddenly stood still to avoid stepping on a man's body prostrate before him in the road. Unable to move in either direction, hemmed in by desperation and defilement, Jesus negotiated his precarious position, juggling salvation and resurrection as if they were loaves of bread multiplying out of thin air. To the woman behind him, he gave credit for her own healing, tossing loaves of faith into the crowd for anyone with ears to hear and anyone hungry enough to consume. To the man, he offered hope, in spite of the obvious facts, stepping carefully through the maze of professional mourners and the mirth of skeptics to reanimate the deceased daughter of a distraught stranger. Defying death and defilement, precipitating and presaging his own fate, Jesus walked on, along the world's weird wall. He walks there still, repairing the tears in life's lovely and complex tapestries, drying the tears of God and humankind in the wake of horrific tragedies, easing the climb of the frail and feeble as they reach the top of the wall, preparing for what lies beyond, rousing the huddled masses from their tent cities and reuniting them with those who couldn't love them enough or didn't know how. On battlefields where children kill and die for freedom and land, on principle and on the word of their superiors, Jesus walks the labyrinth of souls, comforting the wounded and lifting the dead into the light. At crime scenes and bedsides, ringside and in the sanctuary, Jesus Christ, heart healer, game changer, bread juggler, and wine vintner, violator of expectations, Messiah walks with the wounding and wounded, the wandering wanderers. In his wake, spectators cannot remain unmoved and unmoving, silent, sidelined, and uneasy. In the wake of Jesus, there is a movement that grows. Flagpole climbers and more perfect unionizers, flagrant forgivers and right-minded justices, corporate persons now raising rainbow flags to replace their racist banners, centuries of persistent souls waking now to dance on graves and marry their beloveds, all in joy, all threatening to remake creation in God's image. In this now global world, all nations, balanced on the precipice of sovereignty and boundaryless interdependence, God's messengers, wall walkers, and bread jugglers move in labyrinthine patterns across all borders, Doctors and scientists and teachers and peacemakers touch lives without heeding social protocols, defiling those who would get in their way, offering salvation and resurrection to those swept out of sight, wall dwellers, abyss watchers, lost souls, shadow creatures. On this now dying planet, seas rising, species expiring, voices of denial shouting down the winds of climate change, unaware of the tsunami climbing up over their backs, Jesus walks with an army of healed pleaders and unstarving children, peacefully employed veterans of foreign and domestic wars, cyber revolutionaries and serious regime changers, eco-realists and activists, truth tellers and bread jugglers, wall huggers, tree huggers, all in hugger-mugger, hasting to do the wasting of this blue-green paradise, our home. Wall walkers all, towing that thin blue line between this life and the next. The Jesus people walk across Niagara Falls every day. No stunts, just death-defying acts of kindness and random resuscitations, brinksmanship that would leave us breathless if we knew what God was thinking about all of this. We are called to the wall, the world's weird wall, to risk it all in the wake of Jesus who walked here before us, who gives us credit for our own healing and refuses to step on our prostrate bodies, offering hope instead and bread. Little children, get up and walk. Eat and go forth. Jesus is waiting for you at the wall.